everyone. Welcome back to Couple Goals.
It's episode 2. We made it.
Yes.
They say the first episode is the hardest. We got through that, and now we're back for episode 2.
Yes. You guys had great questions. So supportive.
So supportive.
Yes. And I just really enjoyed reading through all the questions.
You guys had our back like a bra strap. Thank you so much.
Yes. I did see that some of you were shocked about the Pimpin' Hoe title. They said it was very early 2000s.
In today's social climate, I don't think people are promoting Pimpin' Hoe parties, but I think they still go on under different monikers.
I agree. I definitely think you probably will get canceled or just nobody will show up if you called it a Pimpin' Hoe party.
Yeah, pimpin' don't have the respect it used to, and hoes. But I don't know. I think they just, they gallivant under different names these days.
Exactly. So in our last episode, we left off on long distance relationships.
We left off, basically on how we solidified liking each other. I don't even think we got into dating, did we? What was the last thing that we mentioned? We
mentioned about how we ended up reconnecting after all those years.
Yeah, and then after that, basically you stalked me.
I don't know if I stalked you, but I happened to live in Georgia, and I had a family member having a baptism for their son in California.
I'm sure those were a weekly occurrence, but yeah, this one just so happened to land on a show that I was throwing, and you felt it was important to come to that baptism, and just so happened to come to my show.
It's just, it added to the trip.
Yeah, the baptism added to the trip to come for my show.
It was a lot of fun, both the baptism and your show. I feel like you did incredible that night.
I don't think. I mean, it was my first show. It was literally me and a buddy. We paid to have it thrown. We found the venue, all that good stuff. And the guy that was producing my music for me at the time actually told me he thought it was too soon and it wasn't going to be good. and he was kind of right. I think I did 3 songs. 2 of them which I got through, and the third one that I just totally destroyed. I didn't have the breath control for it. So it's nice of you to say I did a great job. I would assume you don't remember it very clearly.
I do remember it. And I also remember just everyone having a great time. And it was so nice because then we got to hang out afterwards.
We did.
And then you came to visit me where I was staying in Anaheim after the show.
After the show. And then we ended up a few days after that, I believe, going on like a date, you could call it. Because I don't know if the show would be considered a date. But the first time that we actually planned to hang out after that night was we went and saw Salt, the movie with Angelina Jolie. And then
we headed to the beach.
And then we went to the beach. I bought a jacket. I remember taking forever to buy a jacket. I'm not a jacket guy, so if I buy a jacket, I want to make sure it's the right one. And then you went back to Georgia, and then that started the long distance aspect of our relationship.
Yes.
At that point, it was officially long distance. So we kind of condensed it, and I'm sure at one point in the episode, we'll elaborate on that time within our relationship. But long distance is the topic at hand right now.
Yes. And so for those of you who don't know, Georgia has a 3-hour time difference to California.
If you didn't know that and you're watching this podcast, leave a comment and say, I didn't know that. I would love to speak with an individual that wasn't aware of that.
There's probably a good amount of you. Don't worry about it. So I will say that for us being long distance, what I really enjoyed was you reading the articles of Teen Mom. We got super into Teen Mom. It was the first season it came out.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, they ask questions like, how do you connect in a long-distance relationship? And I think the best answer, every relationship is going to be different, but find little moments that you can share together that enhance, you're really only able to talk on the phone or FaceTime. So I would buy People Magazine or In Touch or whatever those ones that highlight the reality show spectrum of the world. And we would talk about Teen Mom, and I would read you the articles about Amber punching Gary and Farrah doing whatever she was doing. And typically you would fall asleep before I ended the article. It was also kind of like a trick. You're going to go to sleep. You know what I mean? This is how I could help you, wind down your day and pass out. Because a lot of the times with the time gap, you were up much later than you probably would have been. And I wanted to be respectful of that and help you in your journey of dozing off.
And it just was really something sweet for us to do together.
Yeah, it is. Very sweet. Do you have advice for people that are in a long-distance relationship? What would you say to them is a key way to succeed?
I would say just to somehow integrate them to on your day to day. So whether it's showing them something that you walk by every day, or maybe a song that you listen to on the way to work or on the way home, just things that you can share with them. So when those things pop up, it makes you think of them.
There it is. I think if you're in a long distance relationship, that's the life hack. Just share each other's lives with each other and you'll be good.
Well, I think just getting a little bit more in depth, but yes.
I think you're forced to do that. If you're in a long distance relationship and naturally you're not trying to be more of a part of each other's lives however you can, it's probably a sign it's not going to work out.
I agree. And we were really fortunate. We got to see each other quite a bit.
At least like once a month. And then we were only really long distance for 7 months. So I would say that we would probably not be like the highest example of like making a long distance relationship work. we would probably be the type to ask other people for advice, but mine would just be find ways to connect.
Yes.
If that's something that you asked. I don't know. Did people ask that?
No, somebody did ask on what to do.
Cool.
Yeah. And another thing people were experiencing was that in their mid-20s, they're getting a lot of pressure on getting married.
For what?
Because their friends are getting married or they're having kids and they're just feeling like, I got to do something.
Give it like 6 months and see how your friends that just got married are. I think the pressure will be relieved. They're probably doing it because if they're going through a hard time, they don't want to be alone in it. You know what I mean?
Well, I think just go at your own pace. If you find somebody, great. If not, I don't think it's a big deal to wait until you're like early 30s, mid 30s, late 30s to find someone, as long as you find someone who you love and you connect with.
Yeah, don't worry. If people are pressuring you, just tell them to kick a rock. You know what I'm saying? Or just say, hey, can you give me more insight as to why it's so important for you? Pressure them on telling you why it's so important to them.
I think that's one way to definitely get them off of your backs.
Yeah.
Well, with marriage or any long-term relationship comes rough patches. What do you recommend for people to help them to get through these rough patches that they go through?
Give me an example of like a rough patch that maybe we had or that people could have in general.
Maybe just stress of either maybe somebody lost their job or maybe work isn't going well, so it affects them financially and puts a lot of stress on them.
Well, I think even if you're in the midst of a rough patch, it doesn't change the fact that you're married and you're like on a team and you're supposed to be supporting each other, right? So I think if anything, during a rough patch should be a time when people come together more than ever. Because I guess I was thinking more or less a rough patch, meaning like the relationship is on the rocks. Or are you talking about in general life is experiencing a hardship?
Well, I think they both collaborate with one another. I think that normally the relationship is on the rocks because of an outside source.
What do you say? What is your advice?
My advice would actually be to kind of seek some form of help, whether that's therapy or you're reading self-help books or something.
Maybe family, maybe a family that could help you.
Exactly. Because I think that sometimes the key when you have rough patches that way is to seek help before it's too late. I think a lot of people they just wait so long to go to therapy or seek help.
Yeah, I guess if you're stuck up against a rock, you just got to access your inner four-wheel drive and you got to crawl over it. You can't stay in two-wheel drive if you're going up a rocky mountain.
Yeah, and I think that, if you're willing to work on it and you're willing to put in the time and invest, then anything is possible.
I couldn't say it better myself. So what are some other things? What else are we talking about today?
So another thing is how to deal with jealousy.
I don't get jealous. How do you deal with jealousy?
I just do some more self-reflecting. I feel like that's kind of repetitive, but that's what I do.
And why does that work?
That works because normally when I feel jealous or if I feel like something is off, it normally is I'm feeling off within myself. I'm either needing self-care or I'm feeling bad about myself for whatever reason. And I notice that is a reflection then on my relationship.
Would you say like earlier on in life you had a hard time with jealousy? Was it like an issue for you and now you've grown? And if so, kind of give that into advice form for people that might be experiencing a lot of jealousy right now.
Yeah, I think before I grew up really self-conscious or comparing myself to a lot of people. And especially, of course, in the moments that I felt even worse about myself.
Which I think right now is probably like worse than it's ever been for people because of social media.
Yeah.
Right? Like everything nowadays, I was watching a video earlier. They call it, and I guess PORN, that word is like you can't say it on YouTube.
Oh,
so they
I didn't
say
know.
prawn.
Huh.
So prawn. If I say prawn, I just spelled out the word that I'm trying to say. But they call it wealth prawn. And it's like people who watch the Kardashians, they get depressed because they don't live that same lifestyle and they feel inadequate. And people go online. And most of the time, people don't post reality on social media. It's like a highlight reel. And if you're comparing your actual existence with a highlight reel, the highlight reel is going to win every time. And I think that really has contributed a lot to people being depressed, being jealous. So like, I think the first thing, maybe just get off of social media too.
Well, and I think too is that, when you get to a certain age, you have this expectation that, I'm supposed to have the job that I love and I'm supposed to be exactly where I dreamed I was going to be at this age. And the reality of it is that that's not it. And, you shouldn't feel bad about yourself because you're in a different situation than you thought you'd be.
What does jealousy do for anybody?
Yeah.
It's never helped anybody out. Then why would you do it?
Unless it's going to motivate you to be better.
Yeah, but then
and push yourself.
But then I think you wouldn't have succumbed to jealousy. I think you would have just started at motivating. Like watching the Kardashians being motivated and thinking, I am on a current path to being able to achieve what they're achieving, and then sitting there and watching and thinking, I will never be able to achieve that. That would be like the jealousy. Or just go right into motivation,
Yeah. And I agree. I think that sometimes you don't even realize what's out there until you see it on TV or online and you think, wait a minute, I didn't know you could do that.
I couldn't tell you how many animals I didn't know existed until Animal Planet or The Green Planet was on.
Yeah. So I think that when it comes to being jealous, I definitely do some self-reflecting and look inward and get off social media for a bit, like you said.
Self-reflection, get off of social media, back to the real world. So, so jealousy, were there any other like pressing things, any reoccurring questions that you saw come up a lot in the comments on the last episode you want to address?
So this one didn't come up a lot, but
it came up and that's all that matters.
It came up, yes. And someone was wanting to know how they deal with the shame of going to therapy, telling people they're going to therapy and the shame behind that.
Do people, I don't know. I feel like more than ever, therapy is pretty accepted. I feel like there's people out there advocating for it that like 10 years ago would never have probably openly discussed it. I think the world's in a place right now of empathy towards people with mental health issues.
I agree.
More than ever, at least. Maybe not everywhere, but more than ever.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was more on like a couples therapy, and that's where the shame came from.
Gotcha. So for couples therapy, don't tell anybody if you're going. Then if you feel if you first off, you should not feel ashamed. People don't feel ashamed about going to the gym. People don't feel ashamed about eating healthy. You're doing something to better not only yourself but your partner's life. So why would you be ashamed of that? If you're around people that would make you feel ashamed, then probably in therapy it will come up that these people aren't good for you. Maybe I'm saving you that session. But don't be around people that make you feel less than or ashamed, or maybe you're just not ready yet to share that you're enduring that journey. And if that's okay, you don't have to tell anybody about that.
I agree, because I think, like you said, it's not shameful. So when you do share, it should be more motivating, and excited about getting better in your relationship.
And I think a lot of times people, when you share, if you're going to couples therapy and you're talking with someone who's in a relationship and they are not intrigued by the idea of it, or maybe it's been pushed on them by their partner, maybe it's just a matter of they're not comfortable with the idea of therapy and it has nothing to do with you.
And you never know. Maybe you do have that person in your life who is in a really great relationship, and just ask him for advice. Say, hey, what's working for you? And kind of get some ideas that you can apply to your own relationship.
There you go.
No one is perfect, but if you have someone close to it.
So don't be ashamed, I guess. That was the question, right? About being ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Why would you be ashamed of bettering yourself?
Exactly. So speaking about marriage or a long-term relationship, I want to give a shout out to Miss Heather Don't Care So There. Congratulations to her and her partner. They've been together for 28 years. But she says after a certain time, you just got to stop counting the years that you're together.
Just like any other milestone in life, I think it's great. It's an accolade, but the years become less important.
Well, someone did say that if you stop counting the years, that's where it goes downhill.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I mean, it could be different for every relationship. I guess I look at it like I'm proud of us for being married as long as we have.
You definitely do the occasional, like, man, I can't believe we've been together for this long.
Well, yeah, because time is a trip.
Reflect.
Time is a trip in general. I mean, no matter what I'm reflecting on, you're part of my life. And when I equate how much of my life I've been with you, it trips me out sometimes.
Yeah.
But nothing against counting the years. It's just not something that I don't think it's the most important part. I don't want to, jinx us here and all of a sudden we're going downhill because I just said that. So maybe let's get into like funner stuff. I feel like we've gotten serious enough this episode with the questions. What were like some of the more silly, because we asked people to give us a serious question, a stupid question, which not your stupid, just a fun, stupid, silly question, and then relationship questions. Let's hit that middle section right now. What were some of the dumb, silly ones that you liked?
So some fun, silly ones were, if you would still love me if I was a worm. And I'm assuming that means I'm a human and then magically turn into a worm.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be like, would you love me if I was a dog? What if someone say, yeah, I would be super attracted to you if you were a dog? I don't know. That's just a weird question. And I think the answer is just a yes. Like, of course, I would still love you. Figuring that we live in a world where I understand that at any point you could be turned into a worm. Like, just like we live in a world where I understand sickness and in health, I'm going to still be with you. But if the worm was introduced into the matter, I would accept that and I would still love you. I would build you a terrarium that allowed you to flourish and have an enriched existence as a worm. I would make sure that you didn't dry out. I would put a pendant on where I could carry you. And I would brag about it. Say, yeah, this is my wife. It's a worm. And what are you going to do about it? I'm excited.
So does that mean you would remarry with just having me around your neck?
What are you going to do about it? You're a worm. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Just for the sake of the goofiness of the question, no, I'd be faithful to the worm my whole life. Well, what about you? What if I was a worm?
My love, I would definitely keep you just in my pocket or just get a little, little area for you to hang out on my shoulder, take you wherever I go.
Perfect. So we'd still love each other if we were worms. What a stupid question.
You guys heard it here first. He would still love me if I was a worm.
So I really enjoy those goofy questions. I like the stupider ones. You guys are killing it on those. Do we have maybe like one more before we get into a little story time by chance?
Well, we do. And I think this is probably my favorite silly question was,
okay,
if you had one liquid coming out of your finger, what would it be?
If I had a liquid coming out of my finger, was it like a disease? Like, what do you mean if I had liquid coming out of my finger?
Almost like a magic power. If you could have any liquid coming out of your finger, what would it be?
If I could dispense a liquid out of my finger endlessly, what would I choose it?
Exactly.
Coffee. I would have it be some kind of an energized, caffeinated drink so it could be functional, so that way if I'm tired, I could give myself a little shooter. If other people are tired, I could offer them a little shooter, and I could even make my own little coffee drinks with it.
So would the goal just be to be constantly wired?
Not constantly, but I would constantly not be tired in moments where I didn't want to be tired, and that'd be the goal.
Well, that sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, what would you do?
I would probably either do water, because I feel like we got to keep everybody hydrated.
Okay, we live in a world where fingers can be endlessly full of liquid. I don't think water is something we haven't accomplished yet.
Well,
I think clean water is available to everybody in this world that we're living in.
Well, in my scenario, we're the only two people with the liquid finger situation going on.
I'd feel guilty a little bit about that, but okay.
So my other one would probably be gold or liquid gold, because I'd want to be able to afford to just build all these homes for people.
I think the gold would be smarter, because think, how much water can you get out of your finger per hour?
It
would have to be shooting like a fire hose. You would never be able to hydrate everybody on the planet but if you had gold, you could pump up enough gold to do that. I think gold is a smarter move.
We'll see. I think I would go with water first, but definitely end with gold if not.
I think you could buy as much water as you need with gold. But hey, I would love to know what you guys would want coming out of your fingers. And I think, does that kind of conclude the question part of this episode? Or do we have any more? Or is that it?
That's it. That's all the questions that we have. So I thought it'd be interesting to just talk about some of our favorite traveling moments that we've gone on. And we did go to Mexico City a few years back when we were traveling with my family. And I want to say that was probably one of my favorite trips we've taken.
It was definitely fun. I mean, it's the first time I had ever traveled with more than a few people. I think it was like 11 of us total.
Yeah.
And your sister had got a whole itinerary together. There was Nacho and his brother, who were two gentlemen. They picked us up from the airport. They took us to the Airbnb, and they were kind of like our Uber for the whole time / tour guides.
Yes.
Which was very cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
it was like a
that.
huge bus, and it was really nice.
Yeah, I had never been on a trip that was that organized, you know?
Yeah, so one of my favorite places there was the pyramids. That was really interesting.
The pyramids.
To see.
The only thing about that, I was a little bit bummed because I hadn't researched going in, and I didn't even realize the full extent of the historical value of the pyramids as we were walking around them.
Yeah.
There was so much that I didn't explore because I wasn't aware of. So that's a place that I would definitely love to go back again.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to insert some photos too, so you guys can take a look.
Yes.
Another fun thing was that we were actually there when World Cup was being held in Mexico City, so that was really fun to witness.
It was fun. I was kind of bummed that Mexico lost that game because we didn't get to experience that electric crowd energy that comes from a win. They didn't even score a goal. I was hoping at least for that. But yes, that was definitely a highlight. And I got a shirt. They were like throwing out shirts. Yes. And I caught a shirt. And I probably still have it.
It was a lot of fun just being around a ton of people, all excited to watch the show.
We were even there when they elected a president. We really were there at a pretty important time. It was a World Cup. The president was getting elected. But aside from, Mexico City was like the first hub that we visited. We went to the Castillo de Chapultepec.
It's a beautiful. Is that it was beautiful there. The buildings, I mean, and the way you were able to kind of just go throughout because it's a castle.
Castillo de Chapultepec was awesome. After that, where did we go after that? So what was after Mexico City?
Well, we did go look around the churches. It was awesome. And we ended up going to see the water ducks. It was between Mexico City and where my parents grew up. So I thought the water ducks for me were pretty neat to see. Yeah,
the water ducks, which for you, for those of you that don't know, is just basically the irrigation or the plumbing system of how to get water from like one county to the other. And these days we have underground plumbing, but they didn't then. So they use these really cool architectural bridge looking apparatuses to get water from one to the other. And very cool.
It was so cool. And I mean, the structure of them is so neat to see how they built that.
Yeah, it was very awesome. And then we went to San Miguel de Allende, where we did some horseback riding. That was the first time I'd ever ridden a horse. It was very painful. It was very stressful on your legs. People always say like, oh yeah, I'm so sore from horseback riding. I thought, how? All you did was sit on a horse? It's tiring. There's a lot of leg work that goes on in that.
I think there's a trick where you kind of have to like use your thighs versus just like letting, the horse guide you or ride you.
Yeah. Well, it was my first time, I think I was pretty good at it.
Yeah, I think you were great at it.
Yeah.
And I think that on that trip, it was really fun to see you take a photo with the missionaries.
Yeah, I was an honorary missionary in the city of San Miguel de Allende for that day. One of my favorite pictures, actually, that I have. I love that picture.
Oh, my gosh. And they were so nice. That was a lot of fun.
They embraced me, for sure. They could tell that I was a good guy, right away. If anything, I think they were using, some sort of powers over me to get me over to talk to them. They were really using their energy to get here.
They pulled you in.
Yeah, I thought I was seeking them, and they were seeking me. I think it was very cool.
Well, and then it was really fun because then we ended up going back to my parents' hometown.
Yes, that was fun.
That was a little bit more of a relaxing time, I think, from all of these events that we were doing.
Yes, I think the only part of that I remember that is pretty funny is your uncle was having some sort of a party. I think someone was visiting or whatever. And in Mexico, it's a little bit different, the way of life. They don't go to the store to buy chicken that's been put in a package. They kill chickens on the property. They cook them. You got kids out there depucking feathers off of chicken, shit that you probably wouldn't see here in the United States. And it's very cool to see that way of life, and it's very respectable. And so her uncle or her cousin was having this party. And right when I walked in, I could tell that there was kind of a smell there. You know what I mean? It was different. And we were eating pork, some carnitas, and then everyone was kind of laughing around me. You know what I mean? I feel like people were looking at me and laughing. And then I started noticing that there was a couple of flies hovering around. And then someone pointed to me and let me know that the pigs that we were eating just came from right over there, the pig pen. And we were eating within 25 feet of where the pig just was that we were eating. It was like a culture shock experience to say the least. You know, I'm used to like bacon coming from the grocery store. So to be within visual range of the animals that I was eating, it put a new perspective to me on like what it is to live off the land and to be resourceful. So I really enjoyed it.
And I'm pretty sure he went and had you meet the bull that he had also, right?
Yeah, it was like one of those moments where I think he was taking pride in a huge bull that he had raised from being small. And he was also equipped with like rain boots, and there was at least 6 inches of bullshit. No pun. It was exactly what it was. And I think he thought it was funny that we were walking in it with regular shoes.
Yeah,
I
probably.
think it was like, come over here. And he was like, no, get closer. And then we're like, wait a second, dude. There's like a bunch of shit right here. And he didn't force us, but it felt disrespectful not to walk into it. So yeah. So shout out to you, you know, for giving me that experience and really making me walk into that mound of crap. That was fun.
Well, and I will say that I think also one of my favorite memories of you being at my parents' hometown was during Christmas when we first went there, and there was a rodeo.
Different trip.
It was a different trip, but it was just so fun to see Jared just like amongst everyone that went to go visit and that was in Mexico, and him interacting with everyone. It was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the first episode, the Irish and the Mexicans have a lot of history together, and I think it's just felt when I go there. You know what I mean? I embrace, they embrace. It's just a lovely situation, and you don't believe me about that, the whole Irish and the Mexican history. But I Googled it. I'm not going to pull out the phone now, but it's very true. Maybe I'll put a screenshot right now of a little article that I found. But there's a lot of history between us, and it's been proven.
Or we'll just link it in the description.
Nah, you're not going to go to the link in the description. I'm going to put it right here. A little Wikipedia fun fact.
Well, I think that kind of covers up our Mexico trip.
I mean, we touched on a lot of the fun moments. I will say, though, because I've been asked by several people, especially like family members that you have that are either dating or they have a significant other that is a non-Spanish or non-Mexican descent, mostly white people, I guess. And they say, hey, what would you like recommend that this person do when they go to Mexico? They're a little bit nervous. They don't know if they're going to be embraced. And I always appreciate it's nothing but being embraced when you go down there. And the secret, if there is a secret, is just to go down there wanting to embrace their culture yourself. No one's going to make fun of you if you say something wrong. Just go with the right intent. You want to go down there and show them that you're trying to learn the language. You want to be amongst and you want to converse. And more than often, people are going to become teachers faster than they're going to become critics of you. And it's just an amazing place to go visit. So I think don't be worried, you know what I'm saying, about any kind of shortcomings you're feeling going into that travel. Just really have fun.
I agree. And I feel like if they see you making the effort, they're more than willing to make the effort to help you.
Exactly. So if you have any reservation, because I know a lot of people do, maybe they want to go experience another country, Mexico included, but you're nervous. Don't be nervous. Just go in with the intent of having an amazing experience, embracing the culture, and I guarantee you they will embrace you back. And then, I mean, on that note, was there anything else that you really wanted to go into in this episode, or are we feeling good about it?
I think that wraps up our episode.
No way.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let us know on what your favorite trip was that you've taken and where we should go next.
We might do it.
Yes.
Especially if you pay for it.
No, but we really would consider going.
Yeah, I'll consider it. I'll think about it.
So leave a comment below. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.